It's October 11, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. My name is Samuel Signadan, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. Border granny found strangled with mosquito net. PPPC accuses GECOM CEO of refusing international help, but Alexander debunks claims. PNCR promises intensified energy plans for the hinterland in 2020. Bank of Ghana says rise in U.S. exchange rate due to unavailability of dollar note. And BERBICE police corporal and friend charged with $12.2 million ganja bust. Over to you, Kingsley.
Thank you, Samuel. Now here are the major headlines in the region and around the world. We'll tell you that ICE officials cracked down on undocumented immigrants, Guyanese included in their recent arrests. And the Trinidadian pastor has denied any involvement in the false imprisonment case against him. 100,000 or more people have fled their homes as Turkey presses on with their incursion in Syria. And record-breaking typhoon to hit Japan on Saturday. Major flood advisory has been announced. We'll now head over to Abel Harris, who is manning our sports desk.
Trident's Trump Knight Riders secure spot in finals. VERWEY puts on impressive first night display in HANDI-CAP squash tourney. Taylor's NLCB Revellers claim victory on first women's T10 tournament. And NBA cancels media access for remainder of China trip.
And now for the news. Many airstrips throughout the hinterland are set to receive $35 million in lights before the end of 2019. This was revealed by Public Infrastructure Minister David Patterson at the National Tashawus Council conference. According to the minister, the items will be in the care of the village council to reduce the likelihood of tampering and theft. Several hinterland communities are also on the list for airstrip upgrades under the Public Infrastructure Ministry's budget for 2020. These will be conducted at a cost of $690 million. Karukubaru, Oranjuk, Kaichor, Fairview, Karisparu, Parima, and Achiwib will receive major rehabilitative works. Since 2015, the coalition government has invested a staggering $1.4 billion in upgrades for 16 airstrips. The government says this will help to reduce the disparities that may exist between the coast and the hinterland by the execution of these critical projects. At his press conference, opposition leader Dr. Bharat Jagdeo detailed that his report suggests that the chief elections officer of the Ghana Elections Commission, Keith Lowenfield, has rejected aid from the international community as it relates to the IT aspects of the Commission's work.
And even now, Mr. Lowenfield is trying to prevent international help from going into GECOM. I know the UNDP has offered assistance in the IT area, and that's an area that we badly need assistance in.
This, according to the opposition leader, is baffling, since those agencies have the capacity to assist the Commission, especially in the areas where there are shortcomings.
And even now, Mr. Lowenfield is trying to prevent international help from going into GECOM. I know the UNDP has offered assistance in the IT area, and that's an area that we badly need assistance in.
But government-nominated Commissioner Vincent Alexander, following another meeting of the Commission today, told Globespan 24x7 News that the statements by the opposition leader were made without having all the information at hand, since his detail is not a true reflection of what obtains at the Commission.
The Chief Elections Officer does not deal with the matter of health on his own. The Chief Elections Officer responds to decisions of the Commission. And only today, the chairperson reported on interactions she's having and intended interactions of the Commission and people from the international community. So I think that what he would have said is not a true reflection of the processes in GECOM.
Alexander maintained that the Commission's interaction with the international community and agencies goes past mere media monitoring and election scrutiny. Additionally, yet another meeting of the Guyana Elections Commission came to end without the parties coming to a consensus on key aspects of the Commission's work. As such, the Commission will meet again statutorily on Tuesday to continue ironing out those details, which according to both sides are resulting in much tit for tat, with some lines having been clearly drawn. Electrical issues remain the leading cause of fires in Guyana. This was disclosed to the media today at the Guyana Fire Service Fire Safety Fire and Exhibition 2019 at Durban Park, Georgetown. Shakima Day was there and filed this report.
In celebration of Fire Prevention Week 2019, the Guyana Fire Service today hosted a fire safety fair and exhibition, which saw a number of schools from the Georgetown area being educated on the importance of fire safety. Fire Prevention Officer Sheldon Sauna relayed to media operatives that most of the fires being attended to so far for 2019 have an electrical origin. He stressed that most of the electrical fires stem from illegal Guyana Power and Light connections.
Practical-wise, most of the fires that we have in Guyana stems from electrical nature. What we find is that persons would resort to actually tampering with electrical connections, or let us say steal electricity. All right? It is my advice to them to desist from doing so, because what we would have scrutinized also is that due to these things, having illegal connections and so forth, or overloading your circuit breaker in your homes, it contributes a lot to not just electrical fires, but fires in the whole.
According to the FPO, persons should desist from starting domestic fires if they are not prepared to control its effects.
Fire safety and firefighting is not only the Guyana Fire Service's business, but also members of the public, right? Because we have persons who would, within their surroundings, light these illegal fires, and then sometimes it spreads into something big. It can also catch houses and these sort of things too. So it is our advice, coupled with our team for this year, 2019, save lives, protect property, strive towards a greener environment. Because we're looking at the green initiative. If we were to look at the fire in the Amazon and its effect, and the amount of animals and so forth, and persons who would have suffered from that, you understand? That is what we're actually trying to capture.
Electrical fires for the year 2018 were at 17, but so far for the year 2019, that number has increased to 28. The students from the various schools were treated to a foot drill, exhibition, and live control fire exercise, where students saw firsthand the procedures carried out by fire tenders to extinguish a blaze, along with response to injured persons. Reporting from Durban Park for Fire Prevention Week 2019, Shakima Day for Globespan 24x7.
Thanks, Shakima. Chairman of the National Tushaus Council, NTC, Nicholas Fredericks, on Monday afternoon admonished the political opposition, who he deemed disrespectful in their attitude towards President David Granger. At the opening ceremony of the 13th National Tushau Conference at the Arthur Chang Conference Center at Liliendal, Greater Georgetown, President Granger was invited to deliver the feature address. However, while heading to the podium, a small number of opposition leaders refused to stand. On that day, there was also an allegation that members of the opposition were distributing invitations to a separate reception that clashed with that of the president's. The NTC chairman took umbrage to these actions and upbraided those who were complicit in what he termed an act of disrespect.
When it is protocol that whenever His Excellency, any country, gets up to go and make a presentation, that we all stand. Is that so? Yes. And observing this morning, the opposition, who were right in front of us, did not have that respect to stand to our president. He is still our president, right? Yes. He is still our president. Nobody else was not sworn in. He is the executive president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And for me, sitting down while all of us indigenous people are paying respects and they just show their disrespect by sitting down. What messages is that sending to us? For me, it's a disrespect to an executive leader of a country. And now, circulating invitational cards to a reception by the opposition when we were verbally invited and documented invitations also to a reception with His Excellency this evening. He is expecting us to interact with him this evening. So I want to urge you, I want to let you know that from this conference here, we are all going to the reception of His Excellency. Are we in agreement of that?
Yeah.
However, opposition leader Bharat Jagdeo at his weekly press briefing relayed that was not the case. In fact, Jagdeo expressed that a letter was sent to the chairman of the NTC requesting a convenient time to meet with them. The response forthcoming from the NTC suggested the best date would have been on Monday, and the rest is history.
Got a feedback from the NTC that Monday evening will be free. In fact, we looked at the agenda and Monday evening had no activity planned. And so we went ahead, planned our activities, issued the invitations, and then to our surprise, on Monday we heard that the president, or Mr. Granger, had an activity on the same evening. So his activity had to be planned on the very day.
The opposition leader opined that the excuses for not attending the opposition's reception were hollow and reasoned to this effect.
And I believe that the NTC was prevailed upon to get people to go to his reception instead of coming here. So this excuse about because we disrespected the president, then people should go to his reception, it sounds very hollow.
Jagdeo posited that respect is earned and the PPP's presence at the conference was out of due respect for the indigenous peoples and the NTC as a body. He added that the party holds no respect for a public official who disrespects the Constitution.
The mere fact that we had members from our side attending the meeting is because we wanted to pay respect to the two shows and the NTC. We didn't go there for Granger's speech. We went there out of respect for the NTC. And so our people are not obligated to show respect to any person merely because he holds an office, which we believe now he holds illegally, that office, in contravention of the Constitution.
To this end, he said he found the link between the non-attendance to the opposition's reception and PPP members not standing for the president as far-fetched. But new MP designate Mervyn Williams at the PNC press conference held today said that the indigenous peoples of Ghana are not being dictated to as was obtained in the past. Therefore, Jagdeo's insinuation of them being hoodwinked into shying away from the opposition's reception is baseless.
His Excellency the President issued an open invitation. If the chairman of the NTC offered his perspective on it, he has a right to. If persons choose to attend, they have a right to. There are allegations swirling around that the opposition leader had requested and that the president and the government, in fact, took the opportunity, almost as though there was a competition. This government is not in competition with the People's Progressive Party. They're not our equals politically. And so the indigenous peoples of Guyana have a right to attend whatever function they're invited to. It's not part of the formal agenda for the conference.
Williams concluded that what flowed from the leader of the opposition was in bad taste. Meanwhile, in other news, a 67-year-old pensioner was discovered dead between October 9 and 10, 2019. Police say the dead woman was identified as Marva Utkirk of Lot 241 Border Street, Georgetown. She was discovered on a bed with a mosquito net wrapped tightly around her neck. According to police, the woman may have met her demise and her unfortunate demise between 16 hours 30 and 18 hours 30 on the set dates at her Border Street home. Her body is currently at the Lycan Funeral Home awaiting an autopsy. No arrests have been made thus far. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest news in Guyana, the Caribbean, and around the world. Join us after these messages for more news with Shakima Day.
Travelspan GT is a proud sponsor of Globespan 24x7 News. Here are some exciting news from Travelspan GT. Fares have dropped for next year, starting January 20 to August. American Airlines has cheap fares on non-stop flights to New York. Flights are as low as $306 one way and $540 round trip, all tax included. Take advantage of these cheap fares on American Airlines non-stop flights to New York. Travelspan has also cheap fares to Miami, Toronto, Canada, and the Caribbean. Call Travelspan GT in Georgetown at 227-1701, that's 227-1701, or in Rose Hall call 337-4298, and New Amsterdam at 333-6230. That call Travelspan GT in Georgetown at 227-1701, that's 227-1701, or in Rose Hall, call 337-4287. And in New Amsterdam at 333-6230.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Now for more news. The Bank of Guyana has confirmed that the rise in the United States exchange rate on the local market, especially at some cambios, is due to the unavailability of US dollar notes. This disclosure was made to the Private Sector Commission, which met with the Governor of the Bank of Guyana, Dr. Gobin Ganga, and expressed concerns about the rising exchange rate of the US dollar. The PSC, through its chairman, Jerry Govaya, said that the discussion also focused on the potential negative impact on the business community and the economy due to this rise. But the central bank said the issue has nothing to do with not having access to US currency to facilitate transactions, such as payments for US debit and credit cards and wire transfers. The Bank of Guyana assured the PSC that it is pursuing prudent measures to ensure the exchange rate stability. On Tuesday, we reported that a probe will be launched to determine the reasons for the rise. Chartered accountant and political commentator Christopher Ram told Globespan 24x7 News that the Bank of Guyana may have underestimated the situation. Ram posited that the reasons for the fluctuation are multiple, one of which may be the political uncertainty that prevailed and as such welcomed the investigations, but deemed them late since the issue has prevailed for far too long. On the other hand, financial analyst Says Narayan Singh opined that while the factors for the fluctuations may be too many, a number of other economic indicators must be used to make an accurate determination. He posited that the probe by the bank is welcomed and he is confident that the governor is well equipped to carry out the investigations. He, however, urged that it is concluded swiftly since Christmas season may result in even higher rates and the re-emergence of an underground market. We'll tell you now that Police Corporal Quincy Backus and his friend Ramu Singh today appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court to jointly answer to the charge of trafficking the equivalent of 12.2 million in cannabis. The men both entered a not guilty plea to the charge read by Magistrate Faith McGusty, which alleged that on October 7, 2019 at Aubrey Parker Road, South Ruimveldt, Georgetown, they had in their possession 54 pounds of cannabis for the purpose of trafficking. It was reported that the two men were intercepted by police who acted on information. Backus was in the driver's seat dressed in his uniform, while Singh was in the front passenger side. Upon checking the vehicle, Police discovered the drugs inside the trunk of the car, divided into parcels and wrapped in black plastic. Both men were arrested and questioned about the drugs. Bacchus, 28 of New Amsterdam BERBICE, was represented by attorney-at-law George Thomas, who requested that his client be released on bail on the grounds that he was not aware that his friend was transporting the illicit narcotic. The court heard that Bacchus was on his way to Georgetown when he saw Singh with the bags in hand and opted to give him a lift. He reportedly did not inquire about the contents in the bag. However, Singh, 37, who was not represented, gave conflicting reports. He told the court that on the set day when the police stopped them, Bacchus said to him, "Tell the police that it is my weed, but me know nothing about all the weed." Prosecutor Ian Blackman, after hearing the facts, did not object to bail for Corporal Bacchus, but asked that it be an extensive amount. He was released on $300,000 bail and ordered to lodge his passport. He did not object to bail. He did, however, object to bail for Singh, citing the large quantity of the bust and the penalty for the charge. He was remanded. Both men will return to court on November 8, 2019. Meanwhile, in other news, the major party within the coalition government, the People's National Congress Reform, has promised that if the coalition government is returned to office after the elections in 2020, they will advance activities in the energy sector in several hinterland communities. We'll tell you more in this report.
The People's National Congress Reform is convinced that it is significant developments that are occurring in our hinterland will no doubt result in support for President Granger and the APNU-AFC government. The People's National Congress Reform is convinced that the APNU plus AFC Hinterland Development Program is succeeding and offering our people a better life on the way to the good life, and that all peoples of those communities will re-elect President David Granger and the APNU plus AFC coalition government.
That was government parliamentarian Mervyn Williams addressing the PNCR weekly press conference held at Congress Place, Sophia. Williams said that the intention of the APNU-AFC government, if they win the elections in 2020, would be to intensify activities in the energy sector to ensure the hinterland has affordable electricity.
People of our hinterland are cognizant of the developments that are taking place in their communities under this coalition government, and have vivid memories of the PPP's scant regard for them, and will therefore re-elect President David Granger and the APNU plus AFC government. The APNU-AFC government continues to serve all Guyanese. The President Granger-led coalition government correctly brought an end to the PPP's practice of treating our indigenous peoples as only useful as elections time.
The government MP also boasted that the Hinterland Employment and Youth Services has trained over 4,000 young people. He said it is important to note as well that 2,233 stimulus grants were distributed. As a consequence, self-employment is on the rise in the hinterland communities. Many jobs have been created for the youths in the hinterland.
Experiencing a revolution in public infrastructure development. These infrastructural developments are having a positive effect on residents and contributing to the improvement of the quality of their lives. The developments include paving and rehabilitation of roads. It is apposite to note that 350 kilometers of roads have been rehabilitated. In addition, many bridges that are critical to the development of the hinterland have been constructed.
Williams, who is a ministerial advisor at the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, said on the sidelines of the presser that the governing coalition is superior to all other political organizations here. He said the coalition government of this country is superior in its thinking, in its outlook, in its agenda, in its developmental approach, in its treatment of the people, and its respect for laws, in its respect to the rule of the law, its respect for the Constitution, with respect for the equality of all Guyanese. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. We'll tell you now that opposition member of Parliament for Region 1, Colin Crowell, is baffled as to why the coalition government is now making their rounds to the hinterland region after neglecting it for over 4 years. He made these comments at the press conference held today, citing that the National Two-Shows Conference is being held when the coalition government is in full campaign mode.
But if you examine how this government, caretaker government, operates, first of all, whereby how do they spend the money and equitably distributed among the regions, it is only intended to be one of fanfare. Because if you're talking about resolving issues within the region, Mabaruma is not Region 1, Bartica is not Region 7, Letem is not Region 9. And that is how this government, first of all, resolve their issues. Because as was said, 5-10 planes fly into the region with a number of ministers. For example, on the 19th of September, we had in Region 1 about 5 plane loads along with the 2 caravans that the president used. So we're talking about, and those of us who knows the figure, a charter for an island is about 400,000. And so you do the math. And for a few hours, for 4 years, they have not visited the communities. Myself, the regional chairman, and the vice chairman, in this year alone, we have gone to every single community in region number 1. And I can tell you the amount of issues that they're confronting the communities.
The opposition MPs stressed that the frequent baseless visits by not only the head of state and government ministers but also technical staff are nothing but acts of fanfare meant to spend taxpayers' money recklessly. He further mentioned that the fact that the conference, the two shows, are not able to tackle the real issues at hand but are merely there for show.
Come measure that versus what is taking place at the National Two Shows Conference, whereby the two shows have been brought in at the time in full campaign mode, as I said, and they are not being able to set the agenda for themselves. And they're forcibly being told what they must do. In fact, you have receptions that are being held in the evenings. The two shows would request that they go back to the hotel to have a refreshen up and change their clothes. No, they're forcibly told they must attend the receptions and so forth. It happened on Monday last. Then last night they were given T-shirts, and today they were told that they must wear those green T-shirts that clearly has the APNU AFC logo.
According to Kroll, the PPP's plan, when compared to what the current interim government has implemented, they have Guyana's first people's best interest at heart.
Measure that what we plan for the two shows. A two shows conference for us is one where we interact, where we deal with issues, we listen to their concerns, you listen in a timely manner. If you check the agenda for this week, each ministry was given half an hour. By the time the minister finished making his presentation, his or her presentation, you're talking about 50 minutes to 20 minutes finished. How much time is there to raise your concerns? In the PVPC time, when we had the National Two Shows Conference, even up to the president met and sat with those two shows a minimum of 2 days, minimum. And the ministers had to be there to listen so that once their officers who are assigned within the region are not resolving those issues, then we went back, we sent those issues to the sectoral ministers, and they had to address them with their staff. As against now, we are presenting to the two shows, as Comrade Nigel said, we are presenting an agenda, a positive developmental agenda. And we have said within the first month upon winning the election next March, we have an agenda that will see us paving the way for us to have continuous and the continued hinterland development that, as they are known within the PVPC tenure.
Patrons can now benefit from much improved sound quality at the National Culture Center, as a brand new state-of-the-art sound system is currently being installed at the cost of 19 million. The first phase of the project commenced recently at the cost of 7 million. This saw the installation of a new stage monitor, a new public address system for the theater, as well as new amplifiers and a line array speakers. The upgrade to NCC sound system is just part of a multi-billion-dollar effort to comprehensively upgrade the NCC and bring it up to par with similar facilities located across the region and internationally. The Ministry of the Presidency Department of Social Cohesion, Culture, Youth and Sport has embarked on a massive overhaul of the facility, with a series of upgrades being executed in several areas. These include rewiring of the facility, the purchase of new curtains, the installation of modern lighting systems, and repairs to NCC's roof. More significant are the efforts to replace all the old chairs in the NCC's theatre with brand new ones. The NCC, which opened on May 16, 1976, is Guyana's premier location for cultural and theatrical entertainment. The auditorium for cultural seats approximately 2,000 people. Its stage is 48 feet deep with an orchestra pit and has a 72-foot wide and 20-foot high opening. We'll now take a short commercial break. Do stay tuned for regional, international, and diaspora news with Kingsley Bryan at our New York studio.
To keep up with breaking news in Guyana, the rest of the Caribbean, and on the international scene, like, follow, and subscribe to Globespan 24/7's Facebook and YouTube news page. Join the conversation, get live news on the go, and news and details right here on Globespan 24/7 News.
TravelSpan is a proud sponsor of Globespan 24/7 News. TravelSpan has some cheap fares to Guyana on American Airlines flights. Fly from January for $234 one-way and $512 round-trip. Take advantage of these cheap fares on American non-stop flights from JFK to Guyana. That's non-stop flights from JFK to Guyana starting as low as $234 one-way and $512 round-trip. And also has the cheapest fares for Christmas that starts as low as $799 round-trip. TravelSpan celebrating 25 years in business with over 10 offices to serve you. Call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com. Book early and save.
Thank you, Shamika. And now for the news in details. United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in a recent press release stated that it has cracked down on more than 80 undocumented immigrants, some of who are believed to be Guyanese. The release stated that individuals were arrested on suspicion of violating U.S. immigration laws, and those arrested are primarily from Latin American countries: Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guyana. Others arrested were from Jamaica, Haiti, and the Philippines. ICE officers made the arrest on Long Island, New York City, and the Hudson Valley during a 5-day period. ICE, in its release, also stated that 10 of those taken into custody have been removed from the United States and later illegally re-entered the country. Many of those arrested also had felony convictions for violent crimes. For matters relating to security, it could not be confirmed specifically if or how many of those convicted were Guyanese. And we'll tell you that founder and pastor of the church, where almost 70 people were found caged and tortured, has denied any involvement in the alleged human trafficking case. Pastor Glenn A. Wong, during a telephone interview with the Trinidad Express, said he believes the police raid could be linked to an ongoing court battle with the state for the non-payment of 1.4 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars to the rehabilitation center. He denied any knowledge of the situation, stating that he has been working for the government under the Street Dwellers program with the Ministry of Social Development, for which they owe him monies. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, in a statement, said that during a sting operation early Wednesday, law enforcement officials were able to rescue 69 citizens, including 4 women from the facility. Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, speaking to reporters outside the church on Wednesday, said that we have now cracked what is the biggest situation pertaining to human trafficking in this country. Separately, the Pentagon today announced that it will be deploying thousands of additional troops to enhance the defense of Saudi Arabia. The United States Secretary of Defense Mark Esper has confirmed that he has authorized the deployment of additional forces, including fighter jets and a defense system. The spokesman for the Pentagon, Jonathan Hoffman, said, taken together with other deployments, this constitutes an additional 3,000 forces that have been extended or authorized within the last month. The U.S. has increased the deployment of forces in the region by 14,000 since May, according to CNN. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had requested additional support according to Mr. Esper. And now we'll take a look at what's happening in Canada. Green Party leader Elizabeth May said today that Canada is drenched in racism and the country must do a better job of confronting it. The party leader made the statement at a press conference in Ottawa, where May said the comments while discussing her party's foreign policy platform. She said it may be a hard answer to swallow because it makes people uncomfortable, but it cannot be denied that the society is awash in systemic racism. She said, open quote, "We're a long way from a society where racism is not a play," end quote. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh on the same issues said that there is no question of racism in Canada, while pointing out to the treatment of Indigenous people as it relates to simple things, like making funds available for basic things like water. Currently, there is a decision being made to ensure that Indigenous Canadians don't get the basic funding that is needed. And according to a UN report, Turkey has pressed on with its cross-border offensive on Kurdish-held areas, to which end thousands have fled their homes in fear of being caught in the crossfire. Many people are sheltering in schools or other buildings in ACCUSES city and the town of Tal Tamr, the UN says. Turkey acted on Wednesday after US President Donald Trump pulled American troops out of the area. At least 11 civilians have died. Humanitarian groups say the number of people affected will rise further. Reports are that dozens of fighters from the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, and pro-Turkish factions have been killed. The first death of a Turkish soldier was confirmed by Turkey's military. Turkey defended its offensive as a bid to create a safe zone free of Kurdish militia, which could also house Syrian refugees. One major concern for the international community is the fate of thousands of suspected ISIS prisoners, including many foreign nationals, being guarded by Kurdish-led forces in the region. And we'll tell you that Japan is bracing itself for what could be the worst typhoon in 60 years, as meteorologists keep a close eye on Typhoon Agabus, edging closer to the country. Agabus, which means speed, is hitting winds of 180 kilometers per hour, which could cause floods and landslides, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. The typhoon is expected to hit the most populous island of Honshu on Saturday. Shops, factories, and train networks have been shut down, while the Rugby World Cup and the Formula One Grand Prix are facing disruption. Authorities have issued evacuation advisories. It could be the strongest storm the country has faced since Kanagawa typhoon in 1958, which left more than 1,200 people dead or missing. Flooding advisory have been announced. And that wraps up the news in the region for today. Let us join Kumar Doshi for Tech News at our studio in India. Please stay tuned for more news to come.
Thank you, Kingsley. Namaste, salam, and good day to everyone. This is TechBeat on Globespan 24x7. Yesterday, we discussed vertical farming. Today, we shall see about agricultural drones and drone farming. An agricultural drone is an unmanned aerial vehicle applied to farming in order to help increase crop production and monitor crop growth. Sensors and digital imaging capabilities can give farmers a rich picture of their fields. This information can prove useful in improving crop yield and farm efficiency. Agricultural drones let farmers see their fields from the sky. This bird's eye view can reveal many issues such as irrigation problems, soil variations, and pest and fungal infections. Multispectral images show a near-infrared view as well as visual spectrum view. The combination shows the farmer the differences between healthy and unhealthy plants, a difference not always clearly visible to the naked eye. Thus, these views can assist in assessing crop growth and production. Drones can be very useful in agriculture. They could be used for soil and field analysis. They could be used to produce accurate 3D maps that could be used to conduct soil analysis, moisture content, and soil erosion. Some drones are capable of scanning crops using visible and near-infrared light. Onboard light processing devices are then able to identify the amount of green and near-infrared light reflected by the plants. This data can be used to analyze the health of the plant. Another useful feature of agricultural drones is agriculture spraying and irrigation. Using ultrasonic echo and lasers, drones can adjust the altitude with a change in topography and geography. Their ability to scan and modulate its distance from the ground enables them to spray the correct amount of desired water and fertilizers evenly in real time. This has also proven to be fast than traditional methods. But using drones has its own challenges. Most of the drones have a short flight between 20 minutes to 1 hour. Also, the flight distance is short. The initial purchase of drones is high and can go up to $25,000. Drones are much more prone to weather conditions like wind. Then there is a problem of legality. The drones used for agriculture purpose is considered commercial. This means the farmer needs to undergo civil aviation operator training so as to acquire a remote pilot certificate or hire an operator with the qualifications. However, we would overcome these challenges as technology improves and if the law changes in the future. That wraps up for the Tech Beat for today, but we will be back with more emerging technologies in agriculture. I'm Kumar Doshi, bringing you tech news from India. Back to the studio in Guyana for more news to come. Thank you. Thank you, King.
Thanks, Kumar. We will now take a look at our bridge reports. And now for a look at what's happening in the world of sport with Abel Harris.
Thanks, Samuel. Now let's take a look into sports. Ashley Nurse and Raymond Rifa started both bat and ball as Barbados Tridents knocked out defending champions Trinbago Knight Riders to set up a 2019 Hero Caribbean Premier League final against the all-conquering Guyana Amazon Warriors. Nurse's intervention was crucial in both innings, first when blasting an unbeaten 24 from 9 balls to propel a stuttering Trident innings up to 160 for 6, and then taking 2 key wickets to help strangle the Knight Riders' run chase. Having been put into bat, the Tridents looked set to make an under-par total for the majority of their innings until Nurse and Raymond Rifa, who later also played his part with the ball, bowling a nevertheless final over that included the vital wicket of Sikuj Prasanna for a 27-ball 51 and the match-clinching one of Kiri Pierre, plundered an unbroken 48 runs for the 7th wicket from the final 14 balls. With the Knight Riders ultimately coming up 12 runs short. The final 2 overs when the Tridents batted were the difference between going to Saturday's final and going home. The Tridents will now face the Guyana Amazon Warriors, who have been unbeaten in their Hero CPL 2019 campaign, on Saturday at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Port of Spain. The most anticipated match of the season will begin at 17 hours. The Georgian club swung into action on Wednesday evening as the Guyana Squash Association's 2019 and St. Macall Trading sponsored handicap squash tournament got underway. Nicholas Verwey with a handicap of -6 trumped Ian McDacy with a handicap of 0, 15-8, 13-8 and 15-4 in the open category. Verwey took the opening game comfortably 15-8 before McDacy fought back with some good rallies to win the second game 13-15. But Verwey regained his composure to win at a 15-4 tally. In another open encounter, Jonathan Anzac beat Wayne Alfonso 15-14, 15-10 as both delivered excellent serves and shots throughout the night. And in the final open game of the night, Jonathan de Groot beat Tian Edwards 15-9 and 15-9. In the first round matches in Category A, Matthew Spooner stayed focused in his game against Angel Rahim. After winning a close first game 15-14, Spooner dropped the second game 11-15, but came back to win the third 15-10. Also in Category A, Caden Fennedy also won in 3 games in his match against Bradley Walton. Fennedy won the first game 15-13, but lost the second 7-15, before coming back to win the third 15-12. In another close Category A match, Lucas Prasad beat Breno De Silva 15-5, 14-15, and 15-12. Action continues tonight from 18 hours, with the semi-finals on Saturday beginning at 15 hours. The final match in the tournament will serve off at 11 hours on Sunday. National Lotteries Control Board, Revellers won the Women's T10 exhibition match against Courts Gladiators at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Tarouba yesterday. It was the first time in the history of the Caribbean Premier League that a women's match was played during the tournament. After the match, Revellers captain Stephanie Taylor said she wants more fans to attend the second T10 match at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday at the same venue. Taylor said initiatives such as these can improve the game in the region. And I quote, "It is definitely an addition. We have been playing a lot of cricket and it is good for the Caribbean. Get more young girls coming out. This is what we want. We want the development. We want to integrate young players with the senior players and grow the sport." End of quote. Batting first, Gladiators posted 72 of 2 in 10 overs, with Haley Matthews cracking 46 not out of 33 deliveries with 7 fours and 1 6. Casey Knight chipped in with 24 from 20 balls, but some tight bowling by the Revellers restricted Gladiators to a modest score. Janelle Henry and Kanisha Isaac finished with identical figures of 1 of 13 in 2 overs. In reply, Taylor led the way for the Revellers with 36 to guide her team to 78-2, with 4 balls remaining. Taylor faced just 18 deliveries and hit 6 fours. Brittany Cooper, playing at home, guided Revellers to the end with 22 not out of 25, and another local woman in Stacey Ann King scored 15. Bowling for Gladiators, Matthews grabbed 1 of 5 in 2 overs, and captain Effie Fletcher snatched 1 of 26 in 2 overs. The two sides meet again on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. ahead of the Hero CPL final. The NBA has cancelled all media access for the remainder of its visit to China as it puts players in a complicated and unfair situation, the association said. The league is embroiled in a standoff with China after the Houston Rockets general manager, Daryl Morey, tweeted his support for the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong. The announcement comes a day after CNN's Christina McFarlane was shut down by a Houston Rockets media officer as she tried to ask James Harden and Russell Westbrook a question about the NBA's position with China during a news conference in Tokyo. McFarlane has since received an apology, with NBA spokesperson Mike Bass saying the incident was inconsistent with how the NBA conducts media events. All of the league's official Chinese partners have suspended ties with the NBA as it comes to terms with the fallout of Morey's tweet, which has since been deleted. And that's all for sports. Over to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Abel. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before you go, here's a recap of our major headlines. Bourda granny found strangled with mosquito net. PPPC accuses GECOM CEO of refusing international help, but Alexander debunks claims. PNCR promises intensified energy plans for hinterland in 2020. Bank of Ghana says rise in U.S. exchange rate due to unavailability of dollar note. And BERBICE police corporal and friend charged with $12.2 million ganja bust. Thanks for watching Globespan 24/7 News. On behalf of myself, Samuel Siknander, the news and technical teams in Guyana, New York, and India. Until next time, do have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.